So like I have these random moments where I just look at my son and he'll be like playing somewhere, doing something, and I'm like, hey, well, like that's my human.
Tell us about a time that you were broke, girl.
Now.
Towards the line, baby, take a ride. I just wanna find you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Within with myself, Denise Steinbeck and
Seachem Kize.
Right, so today we are going to get into something a little different, a little bit of a story time.
Definitely. So today's episode is quite reflective. We're going to do a segment called Tell Me About a Time When. And then we're just going to ask each other to, expand on a time when you experienced this particular thing, or you felt a particular way, and just, tell those stories. Because I think stories are important and they're really sacred and they're really the things that change us when we meet people.
Yeah. Like stories are just the basis of who you end up being, and the way that you tell it, the place that you tell it from, is very important. Okay, so let's get into this gory topic. The first question I think you'd want to know that can get you to know a person is, tell us about a time that you were broke, girl.
Oh. Kidding. So a time when I was broke that I remember, it happens a lot, Gay, but this one, I was in Korea, and I had, had relocating, fees, what do you call it? Yeah. So I spent money on the move, and then I googled how much am I gonna need to survive until payday, and then I had enough of that, and I was like, cool, off to Korea. Get to Korea, I work, and then payday comes around. I get to the ATM because I hadn't set up my internet banking and all of that. I get to the ATM and it is a quarter of the money I was expecting. Now you can imagine, I have bills here, I have bills back home that I'm still paying, and it was just an actual mess. So I was super broke, and we were planning a trip to Busan. That weekend or the following weekend or something like that. And it was the one thing I was looking forward to in life, And I was so bummed. And then these ladies were like, Asambe, let's go. And we got there, and I was really apprehensive because I'm the kind of person who hates asking for help. So we get there, and they just would slip, bills into my back pocket. And it's a time that I'll never forget because I was broke, but I had somebody to lean on, and I learned that it's okay, Yeah.
So many of us do that. I'm not going out because I don't have money. But it's not about the going out and the spending money. It's about the quality time that you. And that was the best trip that we all needed.
Yeah.
And no one was really flourishing and balling, but we just made it happen, and
it was such a good time.
Yeah.
It was such a good time. Okay. Tell me about a time where you had childlike excitement, kid on Christmas, or that kind of excitement.
Yeah. Easy. Last year, about a year ago, when we had our Vision Journal launch, it was I don't think I'll ever. Okay, that's
now.
I don't think I had ever felt so at peace, and everyone in the room and everyone in the space was just family, and just emanating love in our direction, and it was just the most beautiful, safest space, and also incredible that we really filled it all. It was just wow, we've done this huge thing, and we got to celebrate it, not just our friends but our family. It was just an important and a day that I don't think, that essay that you write in high school. A day I'll never forget. But it was one of those days. When was yours?
Same, period.
Love it.
Like nothing compares to that moment where we were standing up on stage,
Sure.
watching, as all the seats filled,
Yeah.
and people just like looking at us with love, and like
Yeah.
these are our people, and they are our books that we
Yeah.
wrote, and that like unmatched.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. Okay. Tell me about a time when you were hurt by God's will.
Deep. Oh, so many times. But if I can think in the close in the past year, it was definitely June, July last year, where I consecutively lost two important people that in my head, I imagined they'd be there for stuff that was to follow in my life, like when I got important things done, my wedding day, all of these important milestones that I still had yet to reach. And when I lost them, it felt like I was losing all of those things, all of those moments that we were yet to have, just celebrating those things. And so that was the most hurtful part about how, Lord, why would you do this? We have a plan here, so it was really hurtful. The first time I think I was like, okay, this is happening. And then when it was again, and just on also important days, all of the timing seemed a bit too why would you do that, Lord? Why would you do that to us? And it felt so personal. It wasn't even a to us, it was a to me. Why would you do that? But the people that you keep around you also matter, because then it wasn't them being hey, look, God, right?
Not them.
It was more of a comforting, and the praying on my behalf when I couldn't do it myself, and when all I could say was, I don't get it, Lord, and being able to pray those prayers of, I just don't get it, Lord.
What is this?
Yeah. So it was all of that, and it hurt, man. But God is also the person who healed. And so in my asking him those questions, and in my being honest and coming to him Lord, I know this is your will, but it does hurt. And then I was able to heal from that place of sort of hurt. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so beautiful to have community around you who can hold you up when you're going through a very because it's confusing to be hurt by God's will,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so tell us about a time where you felt I can't do it. I'm in way over my head and it's too much.
Oh, every day. Every day it's too much.
Yeah.
I think that's the flip side of really living an intentional life and chasing your wildest dreams, because they are wild and things will get wild.
Yeah.
And every day you feel what I'm doing is bigger than me.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
No, same. I think that also when you're trying to do things for God and you're trying to work in your purpose, and you also have responsibilities, you have all these things going on, and it can feel oh no, it's not my push. Why can't I go back to just I want to go to work, come back, sleep,
chill?
That life was fun.
But then
those days,
when you have an opportunity to do that, you're this is not fulfilling.
Yeah, you literally feel something is missing here. And so every day is overwhelming, and every day I don't feel adequate, but every day I get the grace to new grace. Because from yesterday's grace, it's to keep
not enough.
It's to keep it at the end of the day. But every morning the grace is new, and every morning God comes through. Even if it looks for me, I'm there's no way this is gonna.
And He gets the glory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the time that you felt blessed and highly favored.
So I have these random moments where I just look at my son and he'll be playing somewhere, doing something, and I'm hey, well, that's my human. And like recently, so I'm not confident in my skills of making maltabella. Do you know maltabella porridge? So like it really gets lumpy, like it just does stunts. So every time he wants it, I'm like, oh, please ask someone else to do it, not me. And then I made it for him on the weekend, and he comes back to me. He's like, Mom, I don't know why you judge yourself. I was like, what? My human. So yeah, I really feel blessed. Just like when I take time to be present and look at what a gift I actually have in him.
But also, I mean, he's the kid on the block, and every
my human is that human. Yeah, definitely. Okay, tell me about a time when you felt surprised by an answered prayer.
Sure. With prayers, I think sometimes I do these prayers like 2-second prayers, just before I step into the room, or just before I'm about to speak to people, and sometimes I just don't have the words, or I don't know if what I'm thinking is going to come out the way that I intended to, and so when God answers those prayers, I'm always just like, what? And it's the little prayers like, Lord, what should I wear today?
Right.
That's just gonna get me, you know. And sometimes I feel like that because I'm like, God isn't super bothered by like my little prayers. But when He does it, I'm like, for me. Come through. So it's always those very tiny prayers that surprise me because I'm always like, half like, yeah, I mean, I really want you to do it, but if you don't, like, it's okay. But you know, when you just do those like prayers, it's just like, maybe you're gonna do it, maybe you won't. But when He does like actually do it, I'm always just surprised. Like, you really think that I'm that important that you're going to answer that little prayer? So,
yeah, like such a big God to stoop down and like do this little thing for me. Yeah, that's amazing.
So moving from surprise to feeling upset. So tell us about a time that you were upset with God.
So last year obviously was the toughest year, Hunger Games, and it actually happened on New Year's Eve. So a lot had been happening leading up to it, and just like people passing away, like consecutively, like you were saying, people that I love losing loved ones or being afraid to lose loved ones, people being sick and just really not okay. I was sick at the time, along with, you know, some of my loved ones, and it was hard, you know, and I was still like, it's okay, you know, praising God, but I felt like I was barely hanging on, like by a thread. And then New Year's Eve comes and it's the service, and I couldn't go to church because I was sick, but I had to rush some equipment to church for the service, just because something happened. So I rushed the equipment over, and I'm driving through the intersection, and this little car just comes like out of nowhere. So I'm just driving straight down through the intersection, and he's turning, and he, like, the way he came at me, I was sure he was gonna hit me. So I was bracing myself for impact, and then I was on the other side, and I was like, okay, how did that happen? But then I just like was, you know, I was shaking on my way to church, and just like kind of trying to process everything that had happened. And then on my drive back, I was just like, God, what do you want from me? You know? And then like all this rage just like came out, and I was crying, and you know when your tears are like burning hot because you're mad, and I was just like, God, like I have been doing everything that I know to do, and even when the situation is like dire and it's hard and I've been out here, and I had that conversation with God on the drive home, and then he just kind of listened and let me let it all out. And then by the end of that conversation, I was like, Okay, so I had some anger that I was holding on to, and I'm actually so glad that that moment shocked me into letting all of that pent up anger out.
Yeah.
And then I was able to actually skip into 2021 on good terms with my faith and just like let that all out.
Sure, that's beautiful. Yeah. That's I mean, those kind of experiences just show you that, you know, God even cares about your upset. He wants to hear you. Like a friend, you know, like even with friends, you have the friends that you can vent to, and you don't feel like you're draining, or you don't feel like it's complaining.
What's jeopardizing the relationship?
Yes, you don't feel like they'll feel like, toxic energy. They actually care about you and your struggles and whatever is going on, and they listen attentively. And it's not going to be like, oh no, you're such a drag. Actually, you actually feel like heard, and that whatever you went through is valuable, and that it's an important thing. Like even if you're just venting, and with something that heavy that's been building up, God cares that you would come to Him instead of lashing out or not speaking to Him at all about it.
Yeah, and just moving on with like bitterness and resentment. Yeah. So moving swiftly on to joy.
Yeah.
When was the last time you cried tears of joy?
Okay. Most of my tears are not joy.
Let's just be honest.
But I remember, this also started in tears. But I was on my way back from South Korea, and like it had been a long day of just flights, delayed flights, and just like issues, you know, because flights, it'd be like that sometimes, and you just have like all these issues that lead to you either getting there like hours later and whatnot. And after a year of being away from home, you're utterly exhausted, and not just exhausted mentally, physically, like the whole thing. So my first bout of tears was when we got to the airport, and so the lady at
the airport way in Korea.
No, here.
Okay.
So we're, you know, I'm like feeling excited, but also like a little bit frustrated with like, you don't have reception. My cell phone wasn't working anymore. I don't have a South African number. I don't know where the people who are, I don't know who's fetching me. I don't know like anything. So I'm feeling all of these emotions, but mostly excited and mostly, you know, happy. So we get there, and what's the place where you take your stuff?
Customs.
Yes. So at customs, we get there, and this lady, like everyone else goes through, and then me, who has all the paperwork, like I'm super like, nothing is gonna stop me from getting home. I had them like, I think in like a file. I had a file on me. I'd taken it out just before we landed. Like I had this file with all of my documentation, anything that I bought. And she was just like, how am I supposed to read this? This is not in English. And where did you buy this? And I was like, I came with this. And you know, anyway, she just got me to the point where I was actually crying and being hysterical, and I was just like, I just want to go home, lady. Like, can you know? So I was super emotional, and then eventually I got out of that because like it became a huge deal. Like other people started trying to figure out what was going on. I was hysterical, and I was like, I just want to go home.
And you're never hysterical.
Never. it took so much.
It must have been a lot.
Like situations where I should have been, I wasn't.
Right.
But so it was hectic, and I was just at a point of just like, I don't know, like of no return. And then eventually I got out of there, and as soon as I walked out of that room, because even my friend who I'd been with had already left out, like she had to go also to see her family. We were very excited, like it took that long that she had to actually leave. Anyway, so I'm here, tears out, and then I'm walking, and as soon as I opened the door, the first person I see was my mom. And I started crying.
But like happy tears.
Happy tears. I remember, I still have a picture of that, and my friend's sister actually took a picture, and I was like, I don't want to take pictures because my eyes were red, but I was crying in that moment because I was so happy and so relieved. Like I was holding on to my mom like a 5-year-old. I didn't want to let her go. Like I don't even remember if we spoke or anything. It was just like I was so happy.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I need to see that picture.
Yeah, I'll show you. Thankfully, the tears are not like as bad as I thought, because I thought they were like running down my face. Okay, so tell us about a time that you regret.
Sing. Okay, so for me, a time that I regret was like a period of my life, which was like most of my, I think from like adolescence up until quite recently, is the time that I spent feeling like I had to be attractive. So I thought that it was my job to remain attractive in everything that I was doing. So whether that's being attractive as in physically attractive while you're doing something like don't go too hard, because how you're gonna look, to being quiet so that people can receive you better and you can remain attractive to them in that way. And I remember being at camp this one time and we were doing like physical activities and you had a race and I was like, you know what?
You cannot be cute.
And you guys, I ran. I was like, I don't care how I look, I'm doing this. And I think that was the first time in my life where I actually ran with like all my heart, like first time in my life.
Yeah.
And I was the best runner on the team, period. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, what if, I could have done so many things if I wasn't afraid of, how I'd look while doing them.
Yeah.
And I could actually just put my whole heart behind it. And it's been such a great lesson to like even trying business things where you like, I could fall on my face and look stupid, but here we go.
Yeah. It's so important. And I can actually, I see that in you, that you're not afraid to do things that, they're not cute.
Yep.
Just getting down and doing the work.
Yeah.
The dirty work, all in.
Yeah.
And it's such an important thing because we're raised and we start to believe that like a girl has to be like a certain way in order to, get a husband one day, whatever. And even in our young age, we grow up with those things that hinder us so much. Like even just at school, you wouldn't, the smart girl is like not that cute.
Absolutely.
It's just the picture that we have of being, you have to choose. You can't be cute and smart.
Yeah.
For some reason we thought that.
Or even like, I can't put up my hand because if I'm wrong, then I'll be unattractive.
Yeah, sure.
So I have to know that I know that it's going to be perfect or I'm not trying.
But the boys were out here with the wrong answers.
The whole time.
Confidence like 150.
And I think that serves men well.
Yeah.
Even in, corporate spheres and everywhere else that you go as an adult, just to be like, I'm doing this,
They are
any
not
regrets?
Regrets. Not that I can think of. I think that, I don't know if it's perspective or just at this age that we're at. But I guess now that I think of it, it could be similar, just not going for things, and it wasn't essentially to be cute, but just not to be embarrassed or embarrassing, or to be not the best. We have this fear of not doing things a certain way because they don't look right, or looking stupid, or looking as if we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We
all don't.
We all don't.
That's the truth.
And that's the beauty of adulthood, I think.
Yeah.
Like early 20s even was still a time where you're like, maybe let's not do this because it might not look, it might not work out. But now we're like, just go for it. If you fall, you'll get up.
Basically. Okay. Tell me about a time when you felt loved. Like, this kind of
I think for me it's small love that really gets to me. Actually, just yesterday, I got a message from my friend Toby, just like a really like, are you well? What's going on? I'm sure you're on a social media break, but is anything else going on? Like, are you well? And then I think my friend Notle as well sent me a text this morning. Just, hey, I was thinking about you. Just like, those kind of things where people are intentional about when people think of you in their busy times. And it could be just like phone calls with my nephew talking about nothing and coloring in, and those conversations that I'm pretty sure he doesn't know what I mean.
Sure.
And I don't know what he means.
Certainly
but
not.
We can have an hour conversation. Or my niece just yesterday telling me about a story that she wrote, and just like how she, just is proud to sort of share those things.
Yeah.
So for me, love is in the small things and not grand. From friendships with family, just especially now being on a social media break, the people who take the time to go around it, like, I really, really appreciate that, and I don't take it for granted. Like my siblings calling more, like moving stuff from Facebook. My brother sent me something from Facebook all the way to iMessage. I was like, the trick.
That's love.
And just like, those little things, that's always when I think I feel the most loved, when it's just little things, man, of just, I was thinking about you and I saw this and you might like it.
I was thinking of this, I was looking at this and I thought of you.
Top 2.
Whole love
Top 2
language.
and not number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
When I felt loved, I mean, generally always, hey?
Yeah.
I can't think of a specific instance right now.
Yeah, no, that's
This one time I was pretending to sleep because I wanted my son to go away, and he came and he kissed me and he went away.
Why is he the best? He's just the best. Okay, so tell me about a time that you felt content.
I think I'm generally a very content person.
Yeah.
I don't want a lot. I'm generally happy with the way my life is. But one time when I felt content and I was surprised by it is, so like I used to be a serial monogamist, like I was always in a relationship the whole entire time. And then things got really toxic there in the mix. So I finally decided like, okay, I'm gonna take some time out and be single. And I was like scared, guys. I was genuinely scared because what does it even mean to be single, And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so bored, I'm going to be so lonely, I'm going to have to, like face my thoughts. It was a very scary time. So anyway, I hopped out of the relationship and I didn't hop into another one. And I was single for 2 years, and literally it was the time of my life. Like I learned things about myself. I got to know what I actually like, what I actually want in a relationship.
Sure.
And I was just so surprised by how content I was, because I thought I was just going to be bored. I was like, life wasn't going to have any color. It was just going to be like do single people see life in black and white? Like, what's going to happen? But I was so content.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that for you. Yeah, sure. That was interesting.
I think that's enough story time.
Yeah,
for
no.
today.
Cuts. I know. We really hope you enjoyed that. I did.
I did a lot.
Yeah. So that is the end of our episode. Please share with us what other stories you like to hear, and what you thought about today's episode. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.
See ya.